Mr. Panico, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And Mr. Rossetti, is there anybody else on remotely? No, okay. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Harger, Chairperson of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Tuesday, March 8th, and the regular meeting of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission being conducted in the Shelton City Hall Auditorium via Zoom and through a phone link is hereby called to order. For the record, the meeting is also being carried live on YouTube. Protocol for today's meeting was previously reviewed by Corporation Counsel, who indicated to me it's compliant with the executive orders issued by the governor and for those watching from a remote location. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I invite those participating remotely to do the same. Is it still over there? Yep. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I'll start off with the roll call of the commission. Please verbally indicate you are present when your name is called. Commissioner Kelly?
Present.
Commissioner Parkins? Present. Commissioner Ticky?
Present.
Commissioner Laskos?
Present.
Commissioner Mato? Here. And myself, Commissioner Harger. Alternate Commissioner Onofrio, are you here via Zoom? Sophisticated operation. There he is. Okay. Commissioner Onofrio, I was just calling the roll.
I am present. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Not at all. Okay, Mr. Rossetti, our administrator. Is Mr. Nappy participating tonight? He is? Okay. I haven't heard, is he there? Mr. Panico, our consultant.
Present.
Ms. Vernassos, our recording secretary.
Present.
And present in the auditorium are Mira Loretti and Attorney Teodoso, our corporation counsel. For the record, current alternate Commissioner Usel indicated he would not be available for this evening's meeting. And just a couple of points before continuing with today's agenda. Mr. Rossetti will act as the Zoom meeting host, while commissioners will be able to make comments throughout the meeting. Please continue to identify yourself, even though we are all in person, and wait to be recognized. So to make sure that our recording secretary is clear as to who is speaking. First agenda items are under other business, and they are 824 referrals, which by state statute must be referred to and approved by the commission before any action can be taken by the city. First item is a lowercase I, City of Shelton, to purchase a 25-acre parcel on Old Mill Road, Assessor's Map 40, Lot 17, and there is supporting 824 material in a memo dated February 15th, 2022, and it was posted to the city's website. So the chair recognizes Mayor Mark Loretti to present this first referral.
Well, I'm here to make sure that there's no confusion, and answer any questions. There's, I guess, 824 referrals that we're looking for. Today, some of them involve purchases, some of them involve sales, and can get a little confusing, particularly when you get to the Moss property. But I think that this one is pretty straightforward. It's one piece of land, 25-acre piece. Access to some city-owned open space that we have in an LIP zone.
Okay, and that open space would abut, that the city already owns, would abut this particular parcel?
I don't think it actually abuts it, but I know it's very close
Close.
by.
Okay,
You know, our thinking over the years is to block large parcels of land, and I think up in that area, we blocked about 150 some odd acres around Longville School, which would include the Tall property, Tall Farms. And this would be in addition to that.
Mr. Rossetti, are the mayor's comments being picked up? Or should he Move in.
Do you need me to go to the microphone?
Yeah, it should just be on the line as well.
Tony, can you hear the mayor?
Mr. Panico, could you hear the mayor's comments?
No, I was not able to.
Okay, no, he's moving to the microphone. Okay, so this is the one off of Old Mill Road. So is everyone familiar with the material that was posted to the website? Yes. Okay, anyone have any questions for the mayor?
Yes, so is the purpose of the land to keep it open space?
No, the purpose of this is to possibly sell a portion of it for the LIP development and maintain a good portion of it as open space.
And you had said it doesn't abut other land that the city owns?
I'm not sure if it does. I know that there is, if it doesn't abut it, it's probably 200 yards away from it, from the corridor that we've created.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is off of Long Hill Crossroads.
And that's not to say that anything will get sold.
Hmm?
I have no idea, but I think it's important for us to keep our options open.
But it's currently zoned LIP, correct?
That's
Yes.
correct. You know, I think it's important for the city to understand that years ago, and Tony Panico will bear this out, that the powers that be zoned a lot of this property to create a balance throughout the city in terms of the types of development, residential versus commercial versus light industrial versus R&D. And, you know, when you start to shift from that, I think it detracts from the balance that we try to maintain throughout the years. And so I think we just safeguard that.
Mhm.
You always run the risk of affordable housing, especially on a piece of property like this.
Mhm.
Or some other type of housing.
And, well, now that you brought that up, how does this change that? So the LIP, that does allow for affordable housing in that zone?
Well, no, it depends on what a city commission would do in the future. Just, and I'll reference Hawks Ridge as an example. That was all LIP.
Right.
And all the land around it was LIP.
Right. But would it be subject to
A zone
a
change.
like a?
Yeah, it would be subject to a zone change, and it would be at the discretion of the city commission at the time.
But if it's not city-owned space, it's up to the developer, whoever buys the
Right.
property.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. true.
And if they don't get approval for what they want to do,
That
then they
they'll do
can come
an
in
acre,
with an
right.
acre.
You know, Elaine, I
Yeah.
equate it to the Moss property when
Yeah.
we bought that in '97, and we sat on it for all these years.
Mm.
And now we're finally, you know, we're dictating the type of development that's gonna go on that site.
I'm getting it.
All right, any further questions, comments, or concerns for the mayor?
We're going to take this one by one, I assume.
Yeah, this is, so is there any commissioner wish to make a motion on this 824 referral?
I'll
So
make
move.
Okay, so is this motion to approve
Yes, motion to.
the 824 referral
favorably.
favorably? That was made by Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Commissioner Parkins will second that.
Second by Commissioner Parkins. So on the motion to favorably approve the 824 referral made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Parkins, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki?
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion has been approved by a vote of 6-0. Next item. The 824s is item lowercase I or 2. City of Shelton to purchase a 14-acre parcel on Pierman Road, Assessors Map 133, Lot 16. Memorandum dated March 3rd, 2022, and supporting material was posted to the city's website. Mayor Loretti, you have information for us?
Again, I think this is probably a piece of property that should be familiar to some members on the commission. You might recall a year or so ago, there was a subdivision by Scheibel. And as part of that subdivision, some land was was given to the city. This expands that land. And I don't know, Kelly, is there any other additional land that we own up there that I think there is? And for the commissioner's benefit, this is Kelly Fasano, who's the newly appointed administrative assistant.
Nice to meet you. Okay,
So is Bird's Eye Road to the left?
Bird's Eye Road is, no, Bird's Eye Road.
To the right.
To the right.
Caravan would be to the right.
that black, the one comes down and goes under the blue.
This is on Pyramid.
This is on Caravan, yes.
So you go Bird's Eye thing, you turn that Pyramid. So it would be on the, it's by the apple orchard, actually. You know where
I'm
Bird's
just, I
apple
think I'm
orchard is?
just a little confused on the location. The mayor's reference to Shiloh gave it some context, but,
Here's Bird's Eye.
okay, yep,
Here's
okay. So it was flopped, got it.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Good work, Alex.
What is that currently zone
That
though?
was quick, so.
Current zoning on this, let's see, it's gonna be in the,
So
This
this
is a lot of work.
this all butts up to Rudy Hudak's,
mhm,
right?
It's actually Bears's. It's up to Bears's, where they have the apple orchard and also the,
Organic one.
no, it's where they have the story,
What?
the stone,
Story?
no, stone.
Oh, the
still,
distillery.
oh, there's distillery, yeah. If you go down Pyramid on the right,
Okay,
um,
I was flopped. I thought Bird's Eye was that way. That's why I was a little confused about the.
there are some fields up here on the right. Mr. Rossetti, the zoning on this is R1? Mhm. R1,
And this is contiguous to the other piece of land.
yep,
that was
it
just
connects,
separate.
it is. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other comments, questions, or concerns for the mayor?
Pretty straightforward.
It is straightforward. I just want to ask just big picture, I mean, in terms of the purpose, just so that the city has this land for then what purpose down the line?
I don't think there's any intended purpose, specific plans. I mean, look at, we land bank close to 2,000 acres of open space in the last 30 years. We, once upon a time, we used, I think, 15, 18 acres to put the intermediate school on, you know, as part of that educational complex with the ball fields and everything. So, you know, look at the city reserves the right to own this land and to take care of their needs, be it recreational or just preserve greenway corridors for the environment, for the animals.
Green space.
You know, we did that up on Long Hill Avenue. People asked me about what's the tall project, you know, and 5 years ago, we had a need for fields, practice fields, so we allowed youth soccer to do some light changes to the field up there. And, you know, they'd have probably 75 to 100 people up there in the summertime
Mhm.
using the field. So I think that, you know, in terms of creating flexibility for the city in many areas, this is why we do this.
I think the most appropriate definition that you have said is it's a land bank. You're gonna save it for potential use in the future.
You know, the other point that I want to make, and it never gets talked about, again, Tony Panico would know this because he predates all of us. Is that it was predicted that the future build out in terms of population for the city of Shelton would be somewhere around 60,000.
Mm.
Well, you know, when I got elected mayor, we were 36.5. Today, we're just 43. And, you know, over a 30-year period, you know, our population hasn't gone through the roof. I gotta believe that part of it's due because of the zoning that we have in place, and that we've been able to land bank so many properties.
All right, any other further comments, questions, or concerns for the mayor?
Commissioner Laskos, does this connect to the Nickeldale Farm land trust?
I'm not sure that it specifically connects to it, but I think that there's other open space there, and I think part of, well, look at Jones's Tree Farm, what we did there, we bought the development rights to 400 acres. So that, you know, we know exactly what's gonna transpire there over the years. We did that with the pumpkin farm. That was 100-acre piece. that the city participated in. So again, along the lines of the things I just explained, you know, that's the, how the events have unfolded over the years.
All right, so any further comments? Okay, any commissioner would like to make a motion on this?
Let me just make
Oh.
one more point to
Sure.
Jimmy, take the question. You know, over the years, we've had requests to do certain things on the land, some of which we allowed, some of which we didn't. The community gardens is a good example. We have two of them. One was up along the Lavender, and the other one was up off of Soundview. From time to time, people would request to hay some of the fields that we own. Because, you know, they hay and bale it, and then they would do whatever they're gonna do with it for their farm purposes or for construction projects, for sediment and erosion control type of things. So, I mean, there's a lot of meaningful uses that come out of these properties that we own. And really takes someone to be able to manage it and, you know, if someone from the public wants to come forward and let's say, just farm it, I think we probably would let them. Or I would be engaged to allow that to happen.
And the commission would be at the table if it required any sort of a zone change, but it's still in R1, right?
Right.
Doesn't necessarily go away.
And to add to that, I don't think a lot of people realize that there still are a lot of farms in Shelton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so does any commissioner wish to make a motion on this 824 referral?
Commissioner Parkins will move for a favorable 824 referral.
Okay, is there a second? Commissioner Kelly is second. So on the motion for favorable approval made by Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Kelly on Permain Road. I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Tiki?
Aye.
Commissioner Moto?
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos?
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly? And the chair votes aye. Motion has been approved by a vote of 6-0. All right, the next three are 824 referrals, 3, 4, and 5. City of Shelton to acquire and sell properties, all up around the Mass property. So first one is, it's listed as item 1 in the February 8th, 2022 memorandum. So it is Assessor's Map 105, lots 8, 9, 11, and 12, and as Assessor's Map 92, lot 16. All the supporting information was posted to the city's website. So
this is where it gets a little complicated, because there is purchases and sales that will occur on approximately 85 acres of land that's in front of you, some of which is denoted by the blue colored map, and then the light green. And so I couldn't tell you exactly how many transactions will take place, because as requests come in, we're going to honor them one at a time. They'll all be required to come to planning and zoning to get approvals. And this commission also knows that the city has requested a zone change for this property, for all the properties, to accommodate development and to specifically create a manufacturing corporate park. You're all aware of the fact that the city has engaged in the contract with Bigelow Tea out of Fairfield. It's a major operation. They're a manufacturer. They're going to be distributing out this site, and they're also going to bring their corporate headquarters to this property as well. Thursday night at the Board of Alderman meeting, the Board of Alderman will approve another contract for sale for approximately 6 acres of the Boss property that is denoted in blue, which is in the top right-hand corner, top left-hand corner, I'm sorry, right up in there, to a company that will also come to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval, but they're a manufacturer and they'll distribute their product and they're going to have their offices there. And so there's a litany of discussions that are taking place now in the last year about purchases of this property for different types of businesses. And it's important to, I think from a planning standpoint, I hope you would agree that we'd have like type businesses, so there's no conflict of interest in a particular area, i.e. there is no residential plan for any of this property, which has got to be welcome news to your ears. There's also a purchase that's going to be required so that we can extend the road. And at the bottom right-hand corner of the map that you're looking at, there is the property in green, and then the property right behind that, which will encompass the path of the road to getting to the Moss property, which will require the city. And we've been engaged in those discussions, and we've secured a deal with one property owner that will be closing on in a couple of weeks. And so, you know, as all of this unfolds, there's going to be a resale of some of this land that we buy that is in and around that road. It also will make all of this land contiguous. And again, the city, through the Planning and Zoning Commission, will be able to control the destiny of what goes on this property. And I think that it's so important for us to be able to project and predict a final favorable outcome for land that is within our borders, as opposed to someone coming in and say, hey, you know, if you don't give me 100 apartments on this piece of property, I'm going to do an affordable housing application. All sound familiar via Dominic Thomas? Oh, you know, with that said, you know, this road has been in the planning for before me, and you know, this is the missing link. The road is built on both sides. The Planning and Zoning Commission, the city has worked over the last 30 years to secure the right of ways for the road going out to 108 past the Moss property. And I know we're not talking about that now. So I think it's important to keep reiterating that so that people, the public understands that this is not a new revelation. This has been in the planning stages for probably about 40 years. And it's finally coming to fruition. So, any questions?
Will any of these lots need to be rezoned?
Well, it's all going to be rezoned,
It's all gonna go.
No,
to-
well, I know that the blue is currently.
and the green.
It's all gonna be one piece.
Are they all the same zone right now? That's my question.
No,
No, okay.
No.
So the green is a different zone than the blue?
the green is an R1 zone, as far as my memory tells me. And the Moss property was R1 with a
Changed
PDD
to
overlay.
PDD.
That was one of the very first PDDs that we used in the city back in 86, Alex, 87, was it?
Just wondering what the colors, the differentiation in colors, what it's depicting,
Oh,
the green versus the
I'm
blue.
assuming the green are the ones that need to be purchased.
No, they.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is it down there in the bottom
And are
left
they
corner?
all under contract, or are they all secure?
One is under contract, one is hopefully will go to contract, if not another form of,
The legend down in the bottom left that Alex is pointing to.
Yeah.
Says the blue is the stripe, it says land available for development. And the other,
So we currently.
Plaid.
own blue.
yeah, is land to be acquired by City of Shelton.
So
Thank you.
do we know how many separate, do we ever count the separate pieces that are encompassed the Moss property and the other pieces? Four. The Moss property and then the other properties are 7 pieces, 7 separate pieces. Although everything in the blue is owned by the city now, so I would assume that that merges or will merge to create one.
Lot 8 is 0.76 of an acre, 9 is a little over 5, 11 is 5.1, 12 is 5.65, and 16 is 0.44. It's about 12 and a half acres. Those, the green ones.
So the success of this really depends on getting all of these green parcels here. all
Correct.
it's- Yeah, and you're feeling pretty good about that?
I wouldn't be standing here tonight if I didn't have reasonable assurance in my mind that it was gonna happen.
Okay. Otherwise, it'll all blow up.
Well, either that or it goes on hold, but
Yeah, or it
um,
goes around a different corner or something.
I think the toughest piece to acquire was the front piece on the onto Bridgeport Avenue.
Yeah.
Because someone lived there and it's very difficult to say, hey, we want to take your house from you after you've been there all of your life and your parents before you.
Yeah.
We were able to do that. The next piece is a 5-acre piece. It's got a house on it. No one's lived in the house for probably about 15 years, is what I'm told, and the rest of it's vacant land. So.
Right.
Each one presents a different set of conditions and challenges.
Further comments, questions, or concerns for the mayor? Okay, any commissioner like to make a motion on this 824 referral?
That for the 3 parcels? or
No, just
for one of
item
them?
1. This is just item 1, just the other 2 and 3 are different layouts that they'll be showing.
Lots 8, 9, 11, or 12.
You're gonna incorporate 824 referral for all the properties, or you're gonna do them separately?
No, we're doing them separately.
So for number 3,
This is number 3.
Right.
Yeah,
I.
I'd like to make a motion for favorable.
Referral.
advisement.
Okay, so Commissioner Laskos has made a motion for favorable referral,
Also referring to some part of
and
this here.
it's Commissioner Laskos, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. So on the motion for favorable referral, made by Commissioner Laskos, seconded by Commissioner Kelly, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion has been approved by a vote of 6-0. All right, the next one is Roman numeral 4. City of Shelton to sell properties, Assessors Map 91, Lot 29, Map 104, lots 25 and 28 to 31, a memo random dated February 8th, 2022, where these properties were additionally defined as item 2 and supporting material was posted to the city's website. Okay, Mayor Loretti?
This is the large piece, correct? Yeah, like I said earlier, there will be multiple sales of this property as time as we move forward and interest is high. And right now, interest is off the charts.
Mr. Rossetti bringing up that chart? For my calculation, the pieces total 63 acres.
66.
No, it's not that one.
Oh, which one?
No, it's this one. Looks like this.
91 and
That's
104.
one.
Okay.
That was number 2 we just did. It's another one. Yeah. There you go. No, that's on it. Is it?
The acreage is spelled out in the request.
Right.
Well, same map.
It is.
It is.
Map's not
Oh, it's
gonna
just that,
change.
no, it's that left portion. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Fine, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. Sorry for the confusion. All right, so any further comments there? Okay. Any questions, comments, or concerns for the mayor? Okay,
Is
anybody,
this to acquire and sell or just to sell?
this one
It's just to sell.
says just sell, yeah. So this would. All right, any commissioner would like to make a motion on this referral?
Make a motion for favorable approval to sell properties.
map
Mhm.
91, lot 29, and map 104, lots 25 and 28 through 31.
Okay, there's a motion for favorable approval from Commissioner Parkins. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Second from Commissioner Motto. So on the motion to favorably approve the referral as requested for the properties listed as item 2 in the February 8th, 2022 memo from Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Motto. Do a roll call vote. Commissioner Laskos.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki.
Aye.
Commissioner Motto.
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion has been approved by a vote of 6-0. All right, the last Roman numeral 5, City of Shelton to sell properties identified as assessors map 105, lots 6, 7, 13, and 14. A memorandum dated February 28th, February 8th, rather, 2022, where these properties were additionally defined as item 3 and supporting material were posted to the city's website. Mayor?
Again, these properties were acquired years ago, back in the mid to late 90s from City Trust. They were residential properties, they had structures on them over the years, we raised the structures, so they sit as vacant land now. Now it's time for the same reasons that I described for the last approval for the sale of these properties. There is one thing that I was unclear on, and Alex, maybe you can help me with this. But properties in green should have an 824 referral for purchase and sale, and it wasn't.
I got this here. I got it here.
Yeah.
All right, questions for the mayor?
Will they be the same zoning or what is the zoning now? R1?
It's R1 right now.
And they could stay that way.
No, it's all
Um,
gonna become part of
No,
the
that's not the objective.
I8,
I-8-1.
Mhm.
1A.
1A,
I-
1A.
IA1.
It's whatever zone, we don't have anything
Okay.
else in for. I
Mhm.
think it's 1A.
1A1. Yeah.
I,
No, it's
I-
I, industrial.
1A.
Yeah.
So the two properties in blue that are closest to Bridgeport Avenue,
Right.
currently owned, there may be a request from the commission to rezone it as a commercial zone. But the other properties, I believe, will stay as IA1. But again, anything after this is coming before the commission anyways.
Right.
All right, any final questions for the mayor?
yeah, just, it's permission to sell it, or do you have buyers? Just curious.
Both.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, tell us who's
Well, one piece you'll know Thursday night,
buying. Okay.
and then the others we're just in the contract discussions, but when you're talking to somebody for 6 months about a contract, you're pretty far down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything,
asked.
the majority of the sales of this property are going to be to large manufacturers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
50 to 100,000, 150,000 square foot users.
Okay, a commissioner want to make a motion on this referral?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept it. Do a favorable.
Okay, so there's a motion by Commissioner Kelly for a favorable referral. Is there a second?
Commissioner Lasko, second.
Okay, Commissioner Laskos, thank you. So on the motion for favorable approval made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Laskos for the properties listed in item 3 in the February 8th, 2020 memo. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner, I'm sorry, 20,
Say 2020.
I'm sorry, February 8th, 2022. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. Sure. 2020.
that's okay with these glasses.
Who knows what we had on the agenda back then.
All right, so next agenda item under old business is proposal of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission to amend the Shelton zoning regulations to establish a moratorium to prohibit the acceptance, processing, or any other action on any application for the establishment of any recreational marijuana production, growing, sales, or distribution facility in any zoning district within the city of Shelton. Set public hearing. As the commission is aware, on June 21st, 2021, the governor signed Senate Bill 1201, the provisions of which went into effect on July 1, 2021. The purpose of the moratorium would allow the commission to prepare proper zoning regulations permitted under the statute. Is there a motion?
Chair, if I may ask a question?
Sure.
Or do you want to start, do you want to have a motion before we begin discussion? I'm really confused why we need a public hearing to
Mhm.
establish a moratorium.
Okay. Corporation Counsel
Why can't we
Teodoso is
just
here.
establish
The
a
zoning
moratorium?
amendment.
The moratorium is a change in your zoning regulations. And anytime you, what,
It's a temporary change.
it's still a change.
change.
So you have to follow the same protocol.
Yeah, we have to permit the, give the public an opportunity to speak.
I don't think any
Well,
other
not only
town
that, Jenny,
did that.
it's
Imposed
also a zoning amendment,
It's a zoning amendment also.
right?
That's what it said.
Okay,
All right, so we're just asking.
this has been a source of confusion for a couple months.
Sure
now.
has. Yes.
So at this point, we're just establishing.
A public hearing
Here
date.
for-
And the sub.
You can change it on the
subcommittees,
night if you want. You could vote that night also.
Okay, but Commissioner Motto had a,
the zoning subcommittee, our plan was to have a
yes,
preliminary meeting.
you are more than welcome to go ahead and sit down with Attorney Teodoso, Mr. Rossetti.
I don't see the sense in that, though. Like, what are we going to talk about, not knowing?
Well, I personally don't understand any of this, so I
There's,
to have a better understanding of it before we're presenting it as something to the public that we.
we're
all
not
agree
presenting
on.
anything at the public
No, you're
hearing.
not
We're
presenting.
listening to their particular comments. But in the meantime, you can get more acquainted with all the provisions of the statute.
So
and what
the
is-
public hearing is just going to get the public's opinion on the
No,
establishment of a moratorium?
No,
No.
we're the applicant for this change,
Yeah, we are.
right? So we are,
In our last meeting, we had a motion that passed for the zoning subcommittee to take it up and to come
Yes.
back with a recommendation.
Mhm,
before we went
and
to
that's-
Public hearings.
We haven't done anything to deny that, or that's.
But if we schedule a public hearing, our motion that passed was to allow the zoning subcommittee to have some recommendation and bring it back to the commission.
They can at that time, because on the agenda that night, we could have a public hearing, hear what the public, if anyone comes, has to say, and then later under old business, open it for discussion
well,
and
Jenny,
hear.
we're the applicant, right?
Well,
We're
yeah.
the one who presenting this to the public,
Mhm.
the city or the commission.
And what are they
Yeah.
commenting?
all you're presenting to the public is the fact that you want a period of time to consider whether it ought to be a permitted use or not. So
I
since
don't
you're
know
going to
that
be
yet.
temporarily prohibiting it, it is an amendment to your regulations.
But we don't know
It's
if
to give you
that's,
the
but
time
we don't
frame.
know that. Weren't we waiting? Didn't we motion for zoning
It
subcommittee to
is
come
to-
back with a referral before we would then have a public hearing to discuss this?
My understanding was the subcommittee was going to work on the wording of this before putting it out to the public.
Well, it's up to the zoning subcommittee to become acquainted with the particular aspects of all the parts of the bill. But to give us the time to allow them to do that, I believe we need to have a moratorium put in place, because otherwise, as of a certain time, the staff would have to accept anybody that comes in to City Hall.
Tomorrow, somebody could come in and make an application
Mhm.
because you do not say it's prohibited.
Right, it's just,
Oh, it's-
to put-
It's a traditional commercial use.
right, it is.
And that's what we need to do. We need to amend our regulations to say, no, it isn't. We need a period of time, 6 months or whatever it is, during which time we will consider it. And at the end of that time, you will put permanent provisions in place whether you're going to ban it or whether you're going to allow it in certain controlled locations.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that
When Tony
this,
says ban, he
state-
means the sale, not the use.
Right. Okay. Commissioner Motta?
The sale and growth.
yeah, all right.
Mhm.
I want to meet with Alex, whether anybody else does or not.
Oh, yeah. As the chair of the
We could Set
subcommittee.
a public hearing date, that'll be sometime in the future, but I
Mhm.
want to.
That
So
public
I-
hearing
I
should
hash
take
this
place.
all out right now.
I understand the urgency of this because if we, and again, I think we just kind of moved a little too quickly on the motion the last time. If we as a subcommittee meet and start discussing what we would do, all those regulations, in the meantime, somebody can come forward and propose
Well,
to
I'm
put it in.
not saying we should delay the
That's
public
right.
hearing. The thing between
should
now and the
meet,
public
right.
hearing, we
Yes.
should meet.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
nobody's saying
I
you
agree.
can't.
But that's not going to be, the public hearing is not going to be discuss how and where we would allow
No.
such.
No.
It's going to be specifically, should we or should we
Moratorium.
not have a moratorium?
Right.
That's
Right, and if
a
you-
yes or no answer. Should we or should we not? have a
Right.
moratorium?
And when looking back in
Simply
the
to
20,
protect the city during the time in which you are studying what you want to do.
Mhm. And
Because-
if back in 2013 and 2014, if anyone pulls up those minutes, you see that we did have a public hearing for the medical marijuana.
Have to.
And there was, I believe, only one person that came, and it was a resident of Stratford. And his concern was that our action would affect the whole state. So at least it gave him the opportunity after we clarified the situation. But, that was a whole different topic. Recreational cannabis is a
Okay, so
wholly
this
different thing.
motion is actually in addition to the motion we passed at the last meeting, referring it to the zoning subcommittee to start discussion.
Mhm,
So this could be a separate motion,
mhm,
independent of that. It doesn't void that motion.
Not at all. No,
Well,
we
the
need,
the subcommittee would have to meet before the
The public hearing.
public hearing.
yeah, if they want
Yeah,
to
we
hear that and get acquainted,
Yeah.
there's, were you gonna say something, Mr. Panico?
No, only that the city is vulnerable until such time as you put that freeze in place. The city is vulnerable.
Perhaps we should-
Somebody could walk in tomorrow
Right.
and request permit to open a store to be able to sell whatever it is that they're allowed to sell by state statute. And since it's a commercial activity, you would have no alternative but to process it.
Mm-hmm. And there have been inquiries. There hasn't been any formal paperwork, but staff has indicated that, yes, people have made calls and inquired about what Shelton doing. So,
We need
Until-
to move, we need to move as fast as we can.
yeah, and I don't know if anybody remembers me saying it, but after this bill was signed last June, a number of towns went right into moratorium mode. And I have all that information to share with you. I was waiting to get this out of the way, but it's, we're like the last of the bunch to have done this in a way.
And some towns also accept it.
Right.
I don't know of in our NVCOG referrals, because those are the ones that I had access to that were sent to me as the commission chair. There was only one town that specifically decided to go the route of allowing it in certain zones. And,
There was a Hearst article in the last 2 weeks that had the whole map of the state.
yep,
And whereas some towns, no action, I think there were about 40 to 50 towns statewide, other towns did the short-term
Mhm.
moratorium and so forth. So we can circulate that article, but it was the whole state and Hearst.
They're actually
surveyed
doing
every
a whole
town.
series on.
yeah, there's an
very
email.
educational
that signed up.
series on cannabis, which
Yeah.
I think
I signed up for it. I
subscribe,
haven't gotten
so
anything.
I've been getting them regularly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do that
it
again.
Started a couple weeks ago.
okay. All right, what other comments, questions, or concerns? does the
Commissioner
commission have?
Harshers, I have a question.
Yes.
This is Commissioner, alternate Commissioner Onofrio. Just a quick question on the moratorium. Do we need to put a time limit on it, or is it just one of those things where we could just say we're going to pause, or do we have to define now a time limit?
You need a time limit.
I'll let Corporation Counsel Titoso answer that.
Because we liken it to a zone change, and it is a zone change, the same type of limitations that a general, I'm sorry, because the moratorium is likened to a zone change, but the moratorium is only allowed if it's reasonable. If you look at the other communities that have put moratoriums in place, they're either for 6 months or a year or 90 days, and then they continue it again if there is a rational reason to do it. You cannot put a moratorium in place
Perpetuity.
conceptually until you feel like you've resolved everything. You have to project the date out in the future.
And we have to do that when we establish a public hearing.
Yes. No, well, when you pass your
You vote
action, I mean, you
on the
at the
regulation.
public hearing, you explain to them what you're going to do, but your vote has to say, this goes into effect on a certain day and it expires on a certain day.
So would that be something that the zoning subcommittee would come back to the commission with a recommendation for how long? to
Sure,
have
they
that
can,
moratorium?
and then it's up for discussion with the whole commission. You might,
Well, that should be determined pretty quick, because Alex is gonna have to get legal notices out
Mhm.
for a public hearing date.
Well, does it have to be included? Does the time period of the moratorium have to be included in the public notice?
Or in the
It
hearing.
should be.
I think we're talking about,
No.
we're not talking about two different things?
Moratorium should have a time.
Yeah, but right now, we're talking about
The notice of
asking
the
for
public hearing.
a motion to set for staff to set a public hearing. Then we have referrals to NVCOG that would actually include, this is the action that the zoning commission wants to take.
But we should know ahead of time
Well,
what-
but that number probably should be established.
Yeah, it will be established.
My suggestion is that you go for a moratorium until January 1st of 2023. That'll give you roughly 9 months.
Okay,
It
But-
might be interesting to hear what other towns are doing as we're in
Oh, yeah.
NVCOG, so they'll communicate to us if they've done 90 days.
yeah,
or
I've been
3 months.
compiling
So
all that.
It
So-
runs the gamut of 3 months, 6 months.
Mhm. I thought for medical, we did a 9-month or something. Maybe I read it in somebody else, some other town's material.
So at
So,
the end of that time, any such business would have a right to have a business
Right.
in a zone that was appropriate.
Well, in theory, what you're doing during the time that the moratorium is there is you are revising or suggesting how your zoning regulations should be revised to either accommodate it or ban it. And then before the moratorium is over or during the next continuance, essentially you put through another zone change, and that zone change is whatever you've adopted as the policy for the city of Shelton. And it could be yes, it could be no, it could be yes here, but not here. That's what you all have to decide.
Mhm.
Just like any other zoning regulation.
Okay.
The uniqueness with this is when it was passed, the General Assembly said, unless you say otherwise, we're going to dictate that in your commercial districts, this use is allowed.
And was there a start date that we already missed? for that?
January. wasn't
Well,
Was it?
I believe it went into
it
effect
went into effect July.
January 1st.
January 1st.
Okay, so right now, somebody could
2022.
come
Mhm.
with that other criteria that are.
What were you saying, Commissioner Miller? Anything?
Just saying. Right now, someone could,
Yes.
like, here's a store, it's a store, we have
That's right.
stores downtown,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
So the question being, how soon can we have a public hearing?
mm-hmm,
And then knowing that date, when you could possibly meet with us with the subcommittee
mm-hmm.
to, or somebody to fill us in.
Mr. Rossetti, did you have anything?
I have my calendar here so I can talk to you.
Great.
Yeah, that could be, do that
That would be
outside the
helpful.
meeting, but, Mr. Rossetti, do you have any idea when this could go on a public hearing?
As soon as this could go on a public hearing.
April, what are the dates in April? I can't hear you. And what is on the 13th? Is there a lot on the 13th already? Need, oh, the 13th is a regular meeting. All right, so the first special is April.
I would try to do it as faster than that.
Yeah, that's a ways out. That's like 8 weeks out.
No, this is March. 8th.
Yeah, we're on
So,
March 8th, so
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks out.
6 weeks, yeah.
We can have special meetings at
Just-
other times.
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So for the rest of this month, today is the 8th, we have something,
Just do something.
the 16th and the 23rd.
Just bump something.
Mhm.
This is far more important.
The 30th, March 30th, can we do something?
At the latest.
But Alex, about the notice, we couldn't have it any earlier than, because of the public notice,
Noticing you.
So it's gonna be every day.
March 30th, then it would be a standalone.
Can we not do the 23rd and have it bump something else? I mean, we meet 3 times a month.
He's already noticed, you've already sent out the public notice for
You're
the,
not available, Commissioner Tiddy,
No.
on the 30th?
yeah,
About the 29th,
what day that week?
doesn't have to be a Wednesday.
No,
I could. Yeah, I could do the 29th.
okay,
Everybody else good for the 29th?
yeah,
This would be the only thing on the agenda. just
That's
to get
right.
it done, right? Would you have time to post the notice, get the notice out, and allow us time to meet, which would have to be
we've got 20
next
days,
week?
like. Mhm. How's that sound, everyone?
Although, yeah, I mean, we have to meet before then, but we don't have to meet to affect anything with the hearing. We already decided that we do it till the end of the year. Is that,
Well, that's a recommendation from Mr. Panico for the,
which would be a 9-month, right?
yeah. Mhm.
Moratorium. We should definitely be able to come up with regs.
The time of the public, from the public hearing to then, the actual meeting where the regulation would be submitted for everyone to be voting on, would not necessarily, could be on March 29th as well. Well, we close
It
the
doesn't
public hearing.
prevent you from deciding, making your decision in less than 9 months. If
Mm,
you
right.
if you take a position 6 months from now and you want to implement that, you can go ahead and do it.
Right, I'm just saying on March 29th, there's a public hearing, then we have to vote on what the subcommittee recommends, and after discussion by the whole commission,
Right.
how soon after March 29th could that take place? Would it be,
Saying we could vote that
Anywhere,
night.
anywhere from 60 days to 9 months.
no, I'm not talking about that.
We could vote that night.
We could vote that
on
particular
what we had
night
decided.
on what was, what the,
I
What the
just make sure that
subcommittee
the notice clearly states what the public hearing is for. That
mhm,
it's just to impose a
Impose.
moratorium.
mhm,
That's all it is.
All it is, just to impose a moratorium.
right,
It's not to decide on whether or not.
no, no.
we're gonna approve.
All right, any further comments, questions, or concerns?
So then if we do it for the 29th, the hearing, when could we meet with you just to get an overview of sometime?
Well, why don't I suggest this? I know that you guys meet a lot, and it populates your days. You've got meetings scheduled for the rest of March. Do you want to meet an hour before the meeting to convene your subcommittee so you don't have to come out another night? I'm free other nights, but I'm just saying to accommodate you.
So that would be the 16th or the 23rd for the subcommittee members.
23rd, I could not, because I'm working that day and I could
No, I
not
thought
get here an
you
hour
meant the 29th,
earlier.
because you're meeting the 29th. Meet an hour before the regular meeting starts.
If you want to go that long, that's up to
No, I
you.
don't
No,
think so. That's a
No,
good idea.
so this is just the subcommittee.
Yes,
not
it's
the-
just-
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
know that,
So,
We
or,
got
but
time during
I
the
think the
yeah, could break
Yeah.
off
council was
something.
thinking,
What day you looking at?
I'm just looking.
I'll do whatever you want. I just suggested to double up on your
I
meetings.
think
Mhm.
sometime next week would be good, only
Hmm.
so that we could, if we have questions or we need to do a little bit more
We
research,
just got a time.
that we'll have at least, a full week and a half to do so.
I could do anything next week except the 17th.
Do we
And
have a
you-
hearing on the 16th?
Yes, we do. But Elaine, did you,
Well, no, the 16th I could
Mm.
meet earlier. Yeah, just not the 23rd.
Right.
So do you want to do like 5 to 6 on the 16th?
Sure.
5 to 6 on the 16th?
Yes. Do you want to do it here?
Right, it's for me. Is it for you?
All right. So is there there's no further discussion on this. Is there a motion, anyone want to make a motion to set the public hearing for March 29th?
Tired. I don't want to do it.
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for March 29th for the purpose of
That was hard.
a
Considering a
moratorium.
moratorium, right?
Considering a moratorium, okay.
I'll second. that.
Second, Commissioner Kelly. All right, so on the motion for staff, to set a public hearing from Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Tiki, Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. All right, now we go into our applications for certificate of zoning compliance. Thank you, Attorney Titoso.
You don't need me anymore, correct?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Have a good night. All right, so the first item on the agenda is, by the way, Commissioner Motto, did the zoning subcommittee meet?
Yes, we
Okay.
met on March 2nd, Commissioner Lascos and Commissioner Parkins and I with Mr. Rossetti.
Great.
Go over the items that are on the agenda.
All right, first one is Archer Signs for a sign at 320 Howe Avenue, which reads Steady Habits Tasting Lounge with a outline of the state of Connecticut in the middle. Is the applicant here to present its application? Can't hear you, sir.
Yeah, it looks like.
Oh, on remotely?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Hello,
go ahead, sir. Identify yourself for the record.
my name's Luigi De Palma, and I'm one of the partners at Steady Habits Tasting Lounge.
Okay. And why don't you, we have a picture of what you're proposing. Why don't you go over the design, please? How it's lit?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It meets pretty much the parameters that Don Stanziel gave us. He got it from planning and zoning. So we're going to conform pretty much to everything that he told us to do. So it's going to be pretty much everything look exactly like the other signs, the colors, the size, and whatnot. Very standard, simple.
All right, I noted on notice underneath the top of the diagram that we have where it gives you the size, you're saying that it's non-illuminated, so it's not going to be rear lit or have anything on it at all?
Don's going to put 2 light fixtures over it.
The goosenecks.
Yeah,
Is it-
exactly. That's
okay.
what he has on the other ones, and that's what we're going to put there as well.
Okay,
Just to keep it all looking the same.
very good. All right, and what about that state of Connecticut outline there? What's the purpose of that?
So 95% of our product is from the state of Connecticut. So our spirits, our wine, our beer, our food, everything is going to be produced here in Connecticut.
This is the Maria Conlon.
Yeah, I know, yeah. All right, so you're planning on having hard liquor and beer and other beverages and food locally sourced or provided within
Yes,
a,
distilleries are from Connecticut, the wineries are from Connecticut, the breweries are from Connecticut, and the food are from local farms.
did the zoning subcommittee feel that had any, that logo was kind of, that outline was, okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
we liked
All right.
it. It was fine.
Okay, because we have brought up things before. Let's do, so. Okay, any questions for Mr. De Palma? All right, any particular comments from the zoning subcommittee?
Well, it's very interested to find out what a tasting lounge is.
It's a new concept.
Yeah.
It's something very different. We didn't want to be the same beer and shop place. And, we're open from 4 to 10, 4 to 11 on the weekends. And just want to have everybody come in, a nice casual place, enjoy and come taste some, local foods.
So do you order a taste or is it like a tasting bar, like being on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail?
Yeah,
Like, go for it.
exactly. It's like you're going to a winery or to a brewery. You can have flights of
Okay.
of beer, wine, and then you could order a glass of whatever you want. Exactly.
Okay. Mr. Rossetti, I'm assuming that this application for business was approved by staff? Separate?
Either it has or.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any further questions for the applicant? Okay, is there an application number assigned to this? They were noted as just 1, 2, 3, and 4.
It's on our.
Okay,
Some at the subcommittee.
okay. What's that? Yeah, it's under
They're there.
certificates of zoning compliance.
They weren't the other day.
Well, they were, maybe yesterday. So, okay. Okay, how long ago were the certificates of zoning compliance put up? Today is Tuesday? Over the weekend, okay. All right, so is there any commissioner that wants to make a motion on this particular
Referrals were,
application?
but the certificates were.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign for Steady Habits.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, so on the motion for approval of the Archer sign application for Steady Habits, 320 Howe Avenue, made by Commissioner Parkins and seconded by Commissioner Motto. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Laskos.
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky.
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Motto.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Good luck, Mr. De Palma.
Thank you very much, everyone, and stay steady.
Oh, we do that well.
Or go steady. Okay, second one is, and motion has been approved by a vote of 6-0. All right, second application is sign light for a sign at 702 Bridgeport Avenue, which reads Alibaba Smoke Shop. Applicant here to present the application, Mr. Rossetti. This is in the Split Rock
Shopping center.
yeah, shopping center, but it's to the right of the cafe in the front,
Oh, yeah,
which I can never remember.
I can't even.
Yeah, it's like two
Where
storefronts.
is it located?
It's the front row of Split Rock,
We're saying.
Okay,
where to the left of, yeah, you can see it's below Asian Bistro.
There used to be a kickboxing.
Yes,
gym in there.
yeah, and it's like to the left of the, what, Sleepy's mattress or whatever it was,
Ceiling.
Sealy. It was Sleepy's at one point, yeah.
Those mattress
So-
firms.
Mattress
Big
firm.
names.
Mattress firm.
Yeah.
And the one to the left that's pictured is,
Open.
okay, they actually opened, okay.
No,
that-
because the kickboxing took up 2 storefronts.
Yes, and they split it, but the one on the
Yeah.
left is the
It's vacant.
one that's coming from New Haven. That's been all over Facebook as to who's
Oh, that,
coming.
yeah, that,
Big mystery.
yeah.
There was an article about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so those, all those signs
All right,
in
so
the window are
Did that
coming down.
the applicant present? No? Okay, well, does the commission want to discuss this and move ahead or table it?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it was, it's smaller than what was there, looks better than what was there. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you have the,
Yeah, and all those,
Previous-
that stuff will come
all
off the
that,
windows.
all that stuff in the windows.
Yeah, that's for
is
sure.
gone. So it's legal size.
It's for the back, I guess.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is there information, Sir Zeddy, on lighting of this
Channel it.
internally? Okay. Very good. All right, well, if the commission doesn't have any specific concerns,
What are the business hours? I know we're taking up the sign, but
Yeah.
this is a new business that I'm seeing, so are they open already or?
Mr. Rossetti, can you?
They are not open already, but they do have a business permit.
all right. Okay, so
Starting to add smoke shops like we are pizza places.
Yeah. tell you the truth, it's like when somebody had mentioned it to me, I said, well, what was Kyle's downtown? It was a smoke shop. It was, but
Yeah,
you
but
didn't call it that.
They had cards and it was
Yeah.
more of a card shop that smoked.
The,
that
the
sold
old Kyle's
tobacco.
was
Also more
like
people
where all the
smoke
city
right.
business,
Yeah, true.
yeah, they had office supplies, they had newspapers. You went in and bought your cigars in the morning or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, like a
Yeah,
newsstand.
it was a
right?
news, yeah, so. All right, so is there any particular commissioner that wants to take action on this particular application by making a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve Alibaba's smoke shop sign.
Okay,
Second it, Commissioner Alaskos.
very good. So on the motion made by Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Laskos for the sign light application for 702 Bridgeport Avenue that reads Alibaba Smoke Shop. Do a roll call. Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. I wonder if they're gonna have a magic carpet in here. Okay, next one. And that, no, I know, the motion is approved by a vote of 6-0. Hey, it could be a gimmick. What the heck? You know, we got the wavy guy in front of other places, Statue of Liberty. All right, third application is Persona for 3 signs at 780 Bridgeport Avenue for the Courtyard by Marriott. Any applicant here?
Thought this was gonna be handled in this way.
Okay, so we're
This
passing
is
it
just a
over.
replacement of
It was,
Yeah.
one
very,
sign to another. Really didn't need any
Same old,
extra.
same old, right?
Yeah,
Same size.
Yeah.
they're changing their, and to tell you the truth, the one on the side especially, they're
it actually looks
lot
nicer.
cleaner.
It's cleaner and nicer.
not so, all right. So we will move on to Persona 780 Bridgeport Avenue.
About OrthoFest. What happened to that?
Yeah,
It's the next one down.
next
Number
one
two.
down, number
Item
4.
That's the wrong picture.
Oh, here we go. No, keep
That's
going.
the right one.
That's,
OrthoFest.
I identified the wrong one. It's not Persona. It's ABC Sign Corp., 762 River Road, which reads OrthoFast. And we do have an applicant here, representative.
Good evening, Larry Borg with ABC Sign Corporation, representing OSG in their OrthoFast
Mhm.
facility.
Thank you, Mr. Bork.
Thank you. As you know, OrthoFast is moving their facility from the back building at 762 to the front building. Currently, this is what their sign looks like on the back building.
Can you
I'm
bring it up?
sorry.
Just pass that around.
OrthoFast was assuming that they would have the same sign on the front building. I sat down with Steve Fior and I explained to him that the commission would prefer to have uniformity on the front building in that the signs during the day would all be black, like Fatty Patty and Bushy Bond. And so we've showed them rendering of the OrthoFast walk-in care in black, like the other tenants. As a compromise, we're hoping that you will allow us to do an illumination from the night view of that sign that will represent their colors, because they have quite a few facilities with the OrthoFast red and blue signs. It's a very identifiable look to their sign. So we're hoping that you will allow us to do the colors on the night view.
Didn't we allow?
So that's
that
what we
on-
did for Bushy Bond, right?
Right,
Yes.
We asked
exactly.
that you
Yes.
asked that you not backlight it from with the red or whatever.
Right, right.
Glow
It
from
was,
the red, but that the letters could be red at night, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
during the day, they're black.
that's right.
So that's
And
the
this
same
would be
thing
the
you're
same way.
proposing here.
This would be the same.
Mhm. Yeah, the larger picture shows the daytime and the smaller one is the nighttime illumination.
Correct.
Shows the
Oh,
colors.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay? Yeah, so, all right, any further questions?
I appreciate you on our behalf
Yeah,
going to, back to
doing
the, to save yourselves some
It's only
time.
fair, you know,
and-
you can't
and
fight
us.
every battle.
Well, we're pleased that they were amenable to it, so.
That's for sure. Okay, any questions for Mr. Bork? All right, All right, so if there aren't any questions, is there any commissioner that'd like to move on this particular application?
Motion for approval.
Okay, so there's Commissioner Tiki making a motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. So on the motion made by Commissioner Tiki, seconded by Commissioner Kelly, I'll do a roll call, and this will be for approval. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion has passed by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you all very much.
Have a good night, Mr. Bork. All right, we're moving on to new business. And the first item is application 2203 David Gazel at 5 Huntington Street, Assessors Map 74, Lot 21 for a special exception in a CA2 zone for a drive-through use in support of a retail store. I need a motion to accept for review and for staff to set a public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, there's motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
A second.
Commissioner Motto has seconded. So on the motion made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Motto to accept application 2203 and for staff to set a public hearing. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Lascoats.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion has passed by vote of 6-0. Okay, now we have next particular one under new business. It's application 2204. Fred Monahan for a text change of Schedule A, Line 10A, to permit farm stands in a greater capacity on farms in the R1 and R1A zones. I need a motion to accept for review and for staff to set a public hearing.
I'll make a motion to accept for review.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion to accept for review and for staff to set a public hearing. I'm assuming Commissioner Motto?
Yes.
Okay, from Commissioner
Sorry,
Motto,
yeah.
and there's a second from Commissioner Tiki. And so on that motion, made by Commissioner Motto, seconded by Commissioner Tiki to accept for review, application 2204 for review and for staff to set a public hearing. Do a roll call. Commissioner Lascos.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki.
Aye.
Commissioner Motto.
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion has passed 6-0. All right, next agenda item is old business. And the first one is application 21-26, Doctopia Schiller Management LLC at 850 Bridgeport Avenue, Assessors Map 18, Lot 23. Petitioning for a major modification of PDD number 2 to amend the statement of uses and standards to permit dog care services, including but not limited to daycare, grooming, training, and overnight boarding. This particular application was accepted for review on November 9th, 2021, and a public hearing took place on January 19th, 2022, when the commission heard specifics of the proposal from the applicants, including the size of the space to be leased, operating hours were stated as 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week, staffing, the interior layout, overnight boarding, curbside drop-off and pickup of animals, and the HVAC system. The applicant indicated signage would be submitted after a final design had been determined. The commission closed the public hearing on January 19th. We had a discussion at our February 8th, 2022 meeting, and there was a consensus by the commission to direct staff to prepare a resolution regarding this application. I just want to note for the record that in speaking to someone in the industry, it came to my attention that the Department of Agriculture, who oversees and regulates operations of this type, changed its regulations in November 2021. And those regulations specify the amount of square footage for primary enclosures. And if you were to ask me what's the definition of primary enclosure, I would not be able to specifically say it's the building overall or the space overall, or is it a specific room within it? But also for play yards and overnight boarding, there are also regulations that the business have a license to operate by the town in place. And I realize that that kind of license would not be obtained until after the business was approved by the commission. But the business is also required to keep on the premises a copy of current rabies certificates for all dogs being serviced. And in addition, if overnight boarding is permitted and 2 or more dogs from the same owner will be kept overnight, they cannot be in one kennel unless the owner has given written permission to do so. I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Rossetti, but I don't believe there was any information submitted by the applicant. But these could be made as a condition of approval by the commission, I believe.
But isn't that a matter of licensure? That's
It is a matter of
their
licensure,
Right,
but
that's what I would-
in the past, when we've had other applicants come before us for other services, I remember specifically when Commissioner Parkins was chair, she specifically asked, do you have the state license to do this?
For massage parlors.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, there was,
But I'm saying they have to get a license.
But we
Yeah.
weren't approving the zone, we were approving the business use.
mhm.
Is that what we're doing here?
No, we're approving a zone change
We're
here,
for
right?
a zone
We're
change,
doing
not a
zone
business.
change, yeah.
So we
So-
don't
A
need,
text change for the
that.
PDD.
Mhm.
I think so.
It's a
Major
major
So actually, it's the same
modification.
thing, because we're approving a use
Yeah.
Major mod-
It's a major modification,
okay.
so,
of the use.
all right, so,
So it would just be a matter of saying they have to meet the conditions. of
Yeah.
The
licensure.
licenses
And
for
that's
the
what I'm
state
saying,
of
it could
Connecticut,
be-
yeah.
considered as a condition of approval. So it's, and it's a good thing that we have regulations that, because there are apparently in all the years that kennels and other operations have been in effect, Department of Agriculture that has to supervise them, and they've come across some conditions apparently that have not been managed very well. And it's not necessarily just dogs, but there are animals that are seized by the state, such as horses and other domestic animals, and they're have to be cared for until somebody else can acquire them. So, all right, but we do have a resolution that, Mr. Panico, would you read the resolution and preface it with any remarks that you feel are necessary?
I can, or you can read it there, whatever you prefer.
That's up on the screen. I don't know if
I don't have, it's not on here, is it?
Yeah,
No,
was-
it's not posted?
I
No.
don't think so.
Did,
I don't either.
Mr. Rossetti, did you email it?
Was it
Yeah,
emailed?
Late this afternoon,
Ah.
later this afternoon? It was an email to the
I didn't
commission.
check.
Was it with the zone? I mean, the Zoom link, that email? Okay. What time was that about? For them to look on their, okay.
5. Well, 5 or 6.
We knew we were meeting in person. We're traveling home at 5.
There it is. Okay, you got it? Everybody else?
I have no idea.
Didn't have time to check my email between 4:30 and the time I arrived here. So.
Well, at least we know that you don't text and drive.
No, I didn't text and drive.
Here's an extra copy if anybody wants one. You guys
I
need,
mean,
Elaine, do
you
you
want
want,
me,
my
do
husband
you
has
want
one.
someone else to read it rather than Tony, or what? Or are we just gonna read it ourselves?
Well, you know what? A lot of times when Mr. Panico reads resolutions, he sort of pauses and gives some explanation as he goes
Okay.
along as to this is how I arrived at this or that.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mr. Panico, you have the floor.
All righty, this is concerning application 2126. Well, I'll skip all of that gobbledygook. By way of background, the subject petition is a request for the addition of another permitted use applicable in that portion of PDD number 2, situated at the corner of Bridgeport Avenue and Armstrong Road, identified as Shelton Place, 850 Bridgeport Avenue. Said Shelton Place component of PDD number 2 was originally approved for the development of 2 retail stores totaling 32,936 square feet in a single freestanding one-story building served by 140 on-site parking spaces. The first store is currently occupied by Staples, an office supply store, and subsequent approvals allowed the remaining space to be further divided into smaller retail parcels, one of which was occupied by Panera Restaurant. The subject petition proposes a modification of the statement of uses and standards for PDD number 2 by adding to the permitted uses another use line as follows. Dog care services, including but not limited to daycare, training, and overnight boarding. That's their proposal. Said use would be limited only to the Shelton Place portion of the PDD number 2, with no exterior alterations to the building except permitted signage. The intention is for the Dogtopia Dog Daycare Center to occupy the entire space formerly occupied by Panera at the end of the building nearest Armstrong Road. There are no outdoor dog activities proposed. A duly noticed public hearing was convened and concluded on January 19, 2022, at which time there was considerable questioning and discussion by the commission, but there were no public comments offered either for or against the proposed SOUS amendment or the Dogtopia Dog Daycare Center. Commission questions were related primarily to the Dogtopia proposal, with concerns about overnight boarding, anticipated staffing requirements, the maximum number of dogs that would be serviced at any time, avoidance of outdoor activities to avoid negative impacts on other tenants, numbers of employees during peak periods, etc. Commission and its staff are familiar with the site, have reviewed the potential negative impact the additional use may have on the use and enjoyment of other retail tenants in the center, the exterior visual impacts, if any, proposed signage, parking convenience, etc. The commission notes that while the proposed additional use can be compatible with the Shelton Place portion of the PDD, it should be restricted to that area. In other words, we should not allow it to be considered in the balance of that large shopping center. And all specific proposals for such use will require review and approval by the commission. To avoid potential negative impacts on other nearby retail tenants, no outside facilities will be allowed other than commission-approved curbside drop-off and pickup. The wording of the proposed amendments to the Statement of Use and Standards of PDD number 2 will need to be modified somewhat to address the locational limitations and the exclusion of outdoor dog activities. On the basis of the above, the following draft resolution has been prepared for consideration and possible action by the commission. Resolution A, the Statement of Uses and Standards in support of PDD number 2 shall be revised by adding to section 4 permitted uses an additional use, number 12, to read as follows. Dog care service facilities are well, originally I was going to say including but not limited, but I suggested consideration by the commission to limited to indoor daycare, grooming, and training. And depending upon your additional consideration tonight, overnight boarding. Was questioned as to whether it stays or doesn't stay. No outdoor dog activities are allowed, once again, other than curbside drop-off and pickup. And the facilities are limited to Shelton Place portion of the PDD number 2, and such facility will be subject to Planning and Zoning Commission approval. It was just brought to my attention that there was some question about whether or not you want to allow the overnight boarding component. So I think we need to discuss it and then decide what we put in and what we don't put in. The second part of your action, B, deals specifically with the proposal of Dogtopia. And it says that it's hereby approved as to location and is subject to the following conditions. 1, no outdoor dog exercise or other activities are allowed other than curbside drop-off and pickup. Number 2, if overnight boarding is not allowed, condition number 2 would not be needed. But if it is going to be allowed, then we may want additional specifics regarding the overnight boarding to be provided. Limitations relative to overnight care and services require commission approval. I just don't think we know enough as a commission about how the overnight boarding is going to be handled if it's going to be permitted. 3, no parking modification shall be made without commission review and approval. I put that in because there was some thought, well, maybe they would eliminate those spaces that head in towards Armstrong Road. Well, before they go doing that, I want to see what the impact is going to be on the rest of the center. So they should, if they want to do that, they should come in with a specific proposal and have the commission look at it. For the maximum number of dogs serviced at any particular time shall not exceed, and at the last discussion, the number 100 was thrown out. You may want to consider reducing that to 50 if after you talk about it, you're not happy with the 100. And the fifth condition would be final details regarding all exterior signage will require commission approval prior to installation. So there is a couple of areas where I think you need to decide on it before you go ahead and put forth an action. You need to decide, are you or you're not going to have overnight boarding? And to what degree do you want to consider a number less than 100 as the maximum number of dogs? I don't have any professional input on this because I've had no other experience with it. So I'm going to listen and react to what the commission tells me to do.
Mhm.
The last question, the last page is simply putting forth the reasons for the adoption. First of all, the amendment will accommodate a previously excluded service in an established PDD with appropriate controls, regulations, and conditions to avoid potential adverse impacts. And second, that the amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan of zoning for the city, and it certainly doesn't conflict with the comprehensive plan of development. So, but the meat and potatoes of it are, how are we going to handle overnight boarding? And what's your concern about the number of dogs, maximum number of dogs?
Okay,
The,
Commissioner Tucci?
yes, the overnight boarding seems to be a critical part of their business, and there is a need for it for people who own dogs to have overnight boarding. I wouldn't even begin to know how many should be the limit based on how much space they have and what is suggested for dogs. There's, oftentimes different options for people when they board a dog overnight, small runs or large runs. So 100 does seem like a lot.
That's not for overnight, that's the daycare.
That's the daycare,
Okay.
yeah,
The daycare.
Okay,
yeah.
They probably wouldn't have 100.
at one time.
But they asked for approval for that.
Yeah, overnight 100?
During the
Yeah.
day,
Not for overnight.
overnight was a lower number
Was
on the
it?
presentation.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
didn't
think if they
think it
only
was-
allow 100 during the day,
Yeah.
That's
all of
all.
those dogs aren't gonna stay overnight. You have to be pre-registered with them to board.
Didn't they show the cages over?
Yeah, that's what I
It's not
was
their
pulling.
first-
It's not a separate room,
Right,
it's,
not the first rodeo.
I agree, it is part of their, I agree with Commissioner Tippett, it is part of their business model, obviously, and again, I don't own the dog, had owned the dog previously, and when I boarded it, I never used the dog in daycare, but, I did my due diligence on checking out the kennel and references and et cetera, but I would feel more comfortable using a place that I use for doggy daycare to board my animal as well, right? The same place,
Absolutely.
you've already built
Yeah.
those relationships with the
Right.
caregivers and
Yeah.
the
I
facility
think
and
I
the
owned a
dog's
dog too, but I
familiar.
never.
oh, here it is.
Yeah, I've used the doggy daycare and boarding at the same facility. It's integral to that service in my view. This is something they know how to do. They have a proven track record. I wouldn't even begin to talk about what the density should be for the
As
dogs
far
during
as
the
per
day.
square foot of dog.
Yeah, I have no
I agree.
basis for
Mhm. Well, that's,
making a,
it goes back to the Department of Agriculture
Well, they'd have to follow
requirements.
the-
That's right, yeah.
licensure requirements. And
And that is here on the A1 sheet where they're talking about daycare. I cannot read. Alex, do you have that available to pull up? It's
Presentation.
in the presentation, yeah. It says fixture plan on the bottom left, but A1 on the bottom right. It's the one that the cover page is Dogtopia zoning use description. Can't hear you.
Overnight boarding of 12 weeks on average?
No, 6
6
to
to
12
12
dogs
days.
per week on average.
Overnight
For a
boarding.
week.
Overnight.
That's per week.
Where is that information?
In the middle.
Boarding protocols.
in their presentation.
That's not a lot.
No,
No.
it was very
By no
minimal,
means.
and that could just, even some of those could be people who don't pick up, aren't able to pick up their dog.
Right, or they're on vacation.
The reason why I asked Alex to find the A1 is, here's the different rooms. These little blocks here,
He's got it up. on his-
those are kennels. So,
They have
But
nap
that,
time.
that could be during the
They have
day.
nap time.
oh, I know, yeah, but that's the thing you have to be aware of. Is there a potential for it to be get out of hand? That's all I'm bringing up. So,
Going by their presentation.
yeah,
That's all you can do.
exactly. All right, so my thing on the overnight boarding, I am not in favor of that.
But
at
you
all.
wouldn't bring your dog there.
Huh?
You wouldn't bring your dog there. I think it's up to the customer
Be-
to decide if that's the type of boarding that they
Mhm.
want to bring their dog to.
Yeah, exactly, but I wouldn't rule out that I wouldn't bring my dog there, and I need to have to bring my dog there. So it's, I just think because we were asked to make a major modification of the PDD, that particular aspect of it is a little bit extreme. And I respect everybody's opinion on this, so I just want you to everyone to make sure
The
that,
the information that you just had on the screen mentioned something like 8 to 12 dogs.
Yes,
6 to
Is that
12
all they would board at night?
that's typical.
On average per week.
On average
per
per week,
week, Tony.
that seems a little low.
but more
What
during,
does that
could be
mean?
more
On
during.
I
average,
do.
What does that mean on average per week?
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
go ahead, Tony, Mr.
I'm
Panico.
trying to figure out what that means on average per week.
Where is that in the presentation?
So
Is
they
it
may
this?
have 20 dogs one week and 3 the next. Average it out on over a month, you come out with
Okay,
60.
so what would the maximum number be that the commission would indicate?
I'm with that number.
Is that 6 to 12 dogs per week? Is that the maximum number that might occur at any one time?
Average.
It
No.
says it increases during holidays and summer season, so
Hmm.
I think we should put a limit on it.
Yeah, I
I don't
do
think
too.
we should leave it open.
I don't.
We have a floor plan to see how many kennels there.
I don't know that we have any basis for
Yes.
picking a number out of the air.
Well, because we're
Yeah,
approving the
pass it
use
over
of
to-
boarding
yeah.
based
I was
on
just
what
looking
they're
at that
telling
other
us.
sheet.
I know we have the power to do it, but I don't think we have the knowledge to do it.
That's the day.
I would be generous in adding to their,
How much?
Adding what, Rose?
in adding to their statement. So if they're saying average 6 to 12 weeks, that it increases during holidays and summer seasons.
Put an upside limit,
Maximum
like
25.
20?
Would we just arbitrarily pick a number that's the maximum based on what? I just
Yeah,
don't
what
understand.
conclusion are we coming to pick that maximum?
I get
Yeah, I
your
don't
point,
know
but
if
to
we have
not
to-
set a minimum,
Can we ask them to clarify
Fair point.
perhaps what the maximum they
Through-
would
yeah.
allow for overnight boarding and let us know?
Through staff, they definitely could. We won't be able to ask directly, but they
I'm just
could.
saying, I don't think it would go up that high, because they have pre-registered dogs. Let's say they have 100 a day. Those are their dogs.
Mhm.
They're not all gonna be on vacation at the same
No,
time.
no, and, you know, I agree.
but not everybody uses daycare. Some people will just use boarding.
For boarding, yeah.
And during the summer, yeah,
Mhm.
I've never used.
The number of dogs treated was never really discussed anywhere, at public hearing or anything.
Well, they said 100 during
Well,
the day.
But yeah, you know what it is, Mr. Panico, on the floor plan, I have that A1. It talks about the rear room is the gym, and that was for 38 dogs. A middle room called the romper room was for a smaller size dog, and that was 36. And then the toy dogs were in the front, in the area that's to the right of the reception counter and right behind the front windows, and that would be for 33 dogs. So that's where the capacity would be 107 dogs.
So the dogs they must set something up then overnight, because I mean, on the floor plan, there's no
Well,
area for dogs to have their own
Cages.
space, or they're, yeah, so
Right.
they lay it out over those rooms that you just outlined.
Is,
It's those squares there, Mr.
No,
Rossetti?
that's
what was-
laundry, break room.
No, no.
and Office.
The little,
what about dogs that are brought in to be serviced? Whether it be to be given a haircut or whatever.
Oh, for
Are those
grooming.
open above the capacities of those rooms?
You know what? We haven't, I don't have any notes to that effect. Well, you know what? It says I have written down, there are 6 crates in one of the spas. It's the only place for grooming. And that's, there's 6 crates in there. That could be the ones that dogs are waiting to be groomed, or they've finished getting groomed and their owners haven't picked them up yet. So,
Well, let me ask you a question. What is it that we want to control? The maximum number of dogs that are on the premises at any one time? Is that the limit that we're looking to establish?
Tony, I just counted if these little squares are their overnight spaces. It's not labeled as that, but I guess that's a good guess. There's 88 all around the perimeter of 88. Some look medium sized and some are larger.
I don't
Mhm.
think that's.
In the two
correct
rooms.
enough.
That doesn't agree with the representation.
Those could just be sleeping, like nap time.
Yeah.
Nap
kennels.
time, yeah.
Dogs
Yeah.
need to stay somewhere when they are overnight, so,
Well, they
Yeah.
stay in kennels overnight.
yeah, they,
right, on
yeah.
the side, so there's
So,
88
but
spots around.
They
So,
have
yes,
all those
feasibly
spots
they
for
could,
right.
daycare
Mhm.
napping. Yeah. they could
I
fill
couldn't
them
even
up.
imagine having 88 dogs boarded in a
Yeah.
facility in
I'm sure they
cages.
The only thing, having boarded a dog, sometimes they space dogs out so they're not right on top of each
Oh,
other for
yeah.
barking. So even if they have 88 spots, they usually space them out if
Mhm.
someone is, the one dog is more quiet, and so sometimes that can be.
We
I would
could
think it's-
ask them.
Yeah, so that's a question for staff to find out how many would they board?
What is the max amount they would board in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the average is all they've provided, not the max.
Right.
To be boarded, okay.
And I think we're looking to not set an arbitrary number, but to use their number to,
Mhm.
Hold on
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Moving on beside the overnight boarding thing, one of the things that talks about is the maximum number of dogs shall not exceed 100, or is it 50? Is that another kind of consideration for them to indicate to us? This is how many we would,
Didn't they provided the 100 number?
well,
Yes, they
it's,
did.
the capacity of each of their 3 rooms is 107. 107 dogs is a lot of
I'm just
dogs.
not In a position.
I mean,
to
is
judge
there
that.
a ratio of dogs per person that's taking care of them?
I don't know,
I just
the
don't
ratio.
think we
how many
have any
employees do
idea.
they say they
I
have
don't-
during the day? Do you recall?
If they had 100 dogs on the premises, how many people do they need to service 100 dogs?
Mhm.
Well, I think that's on their business plan, but I'm fine with approving the write-up with the, based on their 107 dogs during the day and
60 times, 60.
yeah, whatever they provided, their average number, so we don't have to even wait and put a max number.
Well,
But if the average number gets quadrupled,
Yeah, that's,
What
that's
do
not
we
an
care?
accurate.
Excuse me, why do we
depiction.
care? I mean, not to care, not to say we don't care, but what would the problem be?
I think the problem would be to the abutting Domino's Pizza. I think it,
Overnight,
yeah,
Tenants,
both
tenant.
overnight during the day.
Yeah,
isn't that up to the
Well, no,
landlord?
they said, they did say about soundproofing. They did
Yeah.
mention- I did ask that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you
they
don't
made a
know
big
how,
point of that.
how
Well, I
particular,
mean, that would be then the Domino's would complain to the landlord, right?
They'd be complaining all
They
day,
didn't,
never
they
mind
didn't come
overnight.
here to the public hearing.
no, he wrote a letter in support of it as the landlord. It's, while they can say we have a very good ventilation system, we have a very good soundproofing system, it's putting it to the test. That would be important.
The noise would be
Can I-
during the day.
can I offer something?
Go ahead, Mr. Panico.
There's 2 components in the way this is written up. One is the zoning component, and the other is the approval of Dogtopia. Maybe what we should be doing is simply dealing with the zoning component, which is relatively straightforward. All we have to do is decide we are or we're not going to allow overnight. And let's let the remainder of it hold on to it for now, and let's get some more information. You can't talk to Dogtopia because it's rolled into the zoning component. But once we dismiss it, once we deal with the zoning component, that's over and done with. Now it's administrative, and you can have communication with Dogtopia to get clarification on their operation.
I like that.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so
Does that make sense?
yeah, that's a lot better. Now, what about the, on the resolution? So how are you going to?
All I would do on the resolution would be clean up the language so it's only dealing with the zoning component. And then if you want, I can mention some of the issues that we're concerned about, or we can simply do that administratively.
I think that would be a good idea to mention it, to include it, to go on the record that we're aware of it, and these are concerns that we have. So am I gathering from, if we're going to approach it in that manner, Mr. Panico, that this would be something that we would take up at another meeting?
Well, you could, or we could make the necessary modifications to the zoning part of this resolution
Okay,
and just hold off any decision on the Dogtopia application for another meeting.
all right, so what would you suggest the,
In
How
other
to
words,
change the
okay,
resolution.
if we go back to the beginning, first paragraph is fine, so is the second. We can still talk about the intention of Dogtopia. With that, the first page is probably fine. So at the top, the wording, yep, right up to the word resolution, and the first portion of the resolution, the statement of uses and standards needs to be revised, et cetera, as such. That's the zoning component. And that becomes effective on a certain day. We simply would take out paragraph B.
all right, that would be later on.
We will not act on paragraph B. We're going to revise PDD number 2 by adding in that use. And it's going to become effective on such and such a time. And then, everything is good except just take out paragraph B.
Okay, everybody understand that?
Paragraph C becomes B, okay?
Got it.
And we just removed the approval of the Dogtopia. We will hold that and discuss it, modify it, massage it, decide on what conditions or limitations you want to put on it, and then adopt it, approve it rather.
So it has to be discussed again, because when you say handle this administratively, I don't really agree that we need to change anything about their business plan. And I don't think that should be done administratively without a discussion.
You
coming
don't
here.
what, Rose? I'm sorry, Elaine, you don't what?
I don't have a problem with their business plan, approving their business plan as presented. So
Okay,
when you say handle the business part administratively, it sounds like you would have the possibility of putting restrictions on their business plan that we would not be aware of or approving of, and I don't go on with that.
No, it just means that the discussion can come back to the commission and we can actually ask, we can have that dialogue with them because it's no longer part of
Right.
the zone.
the
We just
approval
get
is,
enough information with their
Right.
presentation there.
the approval of Dogtopia as an applicant would become an administrative action of the commission. Now, you can approve it as submitted, or you can approve it with conditions.
Not behind the scenes.
And we'll come back to that in a meeting. That'll be
Right, it'll come
If-
back to us.
I will go back and reread their business plan again. If I don't have any problems with it and you don't have any problems with it, and I feel there's enough control in there, your approval can be subject to compliance with their business plan.
Yes.
As presented.
The fact that they put it in as a business plan doesn't tie them down in zoning unless you tie them down.
Really, you
I
don't want
like
to do
that as being tied together, because that's what we were all been discussing and the public hearing was all about.
Right, so if you think that you're covered by their representation of 6 to 12 8 to 12 dogs on a typical week, a little bit more on peak times, fine. And if you suddenly find out they're boarding 25 dogs every day of the week, then they're in violation of their business plan, and the business plan is part of their approval, so they're in violation of their approval.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's fine. I just would,
It's
the
like-
only reason we'd worry about it is if it became some kind of a problem in the neighborhood, so.
Well, that's the point. You want to guard against that.
And any complaints from the owners or the people that are using them would not come to us. It would go to the Department of Consumer
Agriculture.
Protection and or Agriculture.
Yeah,
that,
Exactly. where they have
so
their
that's
own-
another protection there
Right.
because. it's
Since
a
the
license.
feeling of the commission appears to be that if it's properly operated, it's a permissible use
That's a
Right.
good way to put it.
yes.
in that area.
Yes.
And that we deal with the zoning correction.
And that's a good point. So if they sold it to somebody else who wanted to run it very differently, at least it's specified.
That's right.
Yeah, they're locked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So be that as it may, though, I will speak up and say, no, I do not think this is an appropriate location for this particular business. I am not against a business of this type. I've utilized them many times in the past in different towns. And I don't feel that we should be using this particular location for this type of business. If there is there was some, because one of the things that I was cautioned about and what I have come to recognize is that dogs need to be outside and run around, and they do not have the ability to have an enclosed play yard. Down the street, for instance, there is where Bull and Barley is. All the way to the left is the former bank facility. And it's too bad that something like that with that is set away from off the road a bit and a little bit more remote from everything else that's going on Bridgeport Avenue wasn't available and or pursued. But this is smack in the center of that high area of traffic and retail. And if you don't think that dogs are not going to make a noise every time that door opens, for heaven's sakes, it's
But they're
not
not
a
going to
fact.
be disturbing anybody, and.
Yes, I think they are. I really think they are.
But if
Yeah.
people that are gonna be disturbed. didn't raise
Why
that
make
objection.
them have to deal with that? It's like other things that we have brought up where now it's up to staff because they're not following the rules. Now our CEOs have to go out and it's a burden for the staff to have to follow up on it.
That's what anything, that's what any business.
Right, but we can recognize that from the beginning.
Well,
So,
that's a theoretical problem, though. It's not a.
mhm,
It's not, yeah.
yeah, I would hate to have to,
See, you
They
bring
chose.
your dog to a Cadillac place and you drive 60 miles.
yeah, we
to
have
do
gone
it.
up in the
And a lot of
rankings.
people around here who go to work aren't gonna do
Yeah,
that.
I've
They
used
like to
them
have
in
a
Derby.
place Nearby.
I've used them in other towns
people
in the
are-
valley.
If the users are running into issues, they're gonna stop using them.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
if the
they'll move.
owners of Dogtopia determine that this was not a good choice of location, they'll search for
But-
another location.
But
Yeah.
they have other locations and they've been successful
Right,
as a business.
exactly.
well,
So I think they know what,
I think
They
they know what
need.
they're doing. at
Perhaps.
this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, I know there's a place in Milford, I know
Yeah.
for a fact because my son used to bring his dog there
Milford,
until
Stanford.
they
and,
wanted
I
extra
think,
money because it
no.
was so hyper.
yeah.
But it's in Higgins Avenue, and it's about the same thing, where it is a building. I mean, and they just walk them outside when they
Mhm.
want to, and then they bring them back in, but there's no grass, there's no walkway, there's no kennel area.
Mm.
I mean, and it's used to babysit the dog for the day.
Mm.
And it's better than being home alone.
Yeah,
know, one of
exactly.
The things that we should add to this, the questions for the staff is, what is the length of boarding? Because we had a situation where we used somebody in Derby, and it was perfectly fine to leave them there for any length of time. Up in Bethel, a place that we had used and went back to, our time frame was gonna be something like 20 days, and when the woman heard that, she says, oh, no, we don't allow any dog to be boarded here more than 14
why?
days. And I said, why? And they said, no, the vet
They're not
that owns
happy.
this will,
You want to set a limit?
I don't think we should.
Well, I
set a
don't know.
limit. I don't think we should set a limit.
I'm just
We're
saying, I
really
think that's
wading
a
into their-
question.
Yeah, we're
business
getting into
plan.
their weeds.
Some people might go away for a month to Europe.
Yeah,
God bless.
and I
But if
have.
they bring the dog there for boarding and they know them,
Yeah.
and they might do that, but I'm sure that's a rare occasion that a dog stays for that long.
So.
no, you know what it
have we
is? It's,
Switched what, our game plan? Are we
It
still on
sounds that
the?
way, doesn't it?
I'm
So much
still
time.
fine with the way they laid it out and
Yeah, but I'm not
So
sure.
am
I thought Tony switched our game plan
Yeah.
at this point.
he did.
Did you,
Yeah.
Tony, are you now suggesting that we leave,
Go
that
back.
we reword the resolution to approve the zone change and approve their business per their business model
That
as
was what he last
presented,
said.
right? Is that what he last
Yes.
said?
Yes,
But
some of us agree.
I'm not ready to suggest that their business plan covers all our concerns. I haven't read it.
All right.
Are you
Through it,
still
but I haven't
suggesting-
read it.
So,
So are you still suggesting that we just approve the zone change tonight?
That would be my suggestion.
mhm.
Unless you're very comfortable with it, then go ahead and do it.
If we just approve the zone change tonight, then staff administratively is going to find out the
Mhm.
length of boarding or how many dogs can be boarded at one point.
The
Is going to
ratio
bring
of
that
boys.
ratio, bring that back to this commission.
And then
this
we
commission
approve the
will act in
business
the
use.
future on the business use.
Yes.
Correct.
I think
I
that's.
think what I think is going to happen is we'll look at it carefully and we will suggest that it be appended to your decision and become part of it. And in addition, qualify it if necessary. There may be things in there that you question or don't want to go as far. So
Mhm.
but I can't tell you what they are without being intimately conversant with it. So,
Mhm. Okay. All right, so does everybody want to move forward on this tonight with just a motion to approve the resolution with sections A, statement of uses and standards, and the new B, which was formerly C.
well, my suggestion would be to approve the resolution with the elimination of paragraph B,
Okay.
period. And then we'll
All right.
handle everything else.
All right.
I will make that motion.
Okay, so it's the motion to approve application 2126. The resolution, to approve the resolution for application 2126 with the elimination of
Paragraph B.
paragraph B.
I'll second it.
Can I just ask
Yeah.
also, how long do we think we're putting these people off with this additional process that we're subjecting them to?
I don't know.
I don't know, I'm not in agreement with this approach. I'm gonna say that.
Okay,
What's your suggestion, Elaine?
I would just approve their business as they presented it to us. I would.
Well, if you feel you got enough controls and protections, that's your call.
Well, that's where I'm coming from. I'm fine if everybody else is not, but it's just stating where I'm coming from. that's all.
okay.
I just would like to have a realistic idea of how many they really plan to board, or how many max that they would take in.
Mhm.
I would just feel comfortable. I'm fine with everything else. I would just feel more comfortable knowing what their number is for that.
And knowing that they have facility in Stamford, Norwalk, and
They had
who's the other one,
other
Milford.
states.
No, but-
Milford is not theirs.
Elaine, if you approve it,
Yeah.
if you approve it on the surface, relying on their representations, et cetera, what comes into play when they move out and a different tenant comes in with the same type of use, but has a different business plan?
Yeah, so
How do you regulate
I
that?
actually brought that up, but there are some details in this resolution in terms of the maximum number of dogs and the average number of boarding dogs, and that seems to be the major concern that everyone has. I mean, personally, as a dog owner, I would not maybe be comfortable with having a dog in a facility without somebody on staff.
Mhm.
But I think that's up to the people who bring their dogs.
Mhm.
That's their business model, cameras.
Yeah, right.
And
But
maybe
people
some
might
sound
not
devices.
know, right?
Well, they need
If
to
you're-
find
if you're-
out.
If they ask the question, how many dogs will be boarded here? We don't know, but typically we have 6 to 12 a week. They're not getting an accurate answer.
Well, we could
There
ask.
are issues with long-term boarding.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Long-term boarding with no outdoor facilities is very, very difficult.
The reason
I'm
why,
not a dog owner.
the reason why it was explained to us that the facility in Bethel was a lot of people do their 2-week boarding, that's permitted, and they never show up again. And they walk away from the animal. They pay the money to have the dog boarded, and then after they've been burnt more, and it's a sad commentary.
Wow,
Yep.
that's terrible.
Yeah, and that's
Well,
why
that
the
speaks
vet had
volumes to the
said,
people,
no,
not to
it
the
does.
owners, not to the
yeah,
kennel.
right, oh, exactly. And see, that's one of the things that,
The facility is not adaptable for long-term boarding.
No, it's.
no.
And they didn't, I don't. think
No.
they're in
They
that
weren't interested in
business.
long-term boarding according to the presentation. They were just doing this as a service to their daytime dogs on small blips of time.
Perhaps,
So maybe. we
You could have all
to have
intentions
them
in work.
Specify the length of the maximum
Exactly.
length that they would have dogs boarded.
So I
Yeah.
think just a
maximum
couple of
number of
questions that we would
overnight
like, that I would like
orders.
to know is
Yeah.
how many would they max out at in
Mhm.
terms of boarding? And question just escaped
We
me.
had maximum
Length of
amount to be
time.
boarded.
How many staff members they have per room?
Yep.
Right, so if there's 30 allowed in a room, how many staff members do they have? I
Yep.
would assume 2, so I don't know.
They said that,
2, they said 2?
one,
1.
they
person
said
to
that
30
in the
dogs?
presentation, one per every cluster. They have the big dogs, medium dogs, and small dogs.
And if 2 dogs get into a fight, how are you gonna break them up? You are
We said
not.
at a local bar.
You
know, I
are
mean,
not.
We're really.
That's not
Getting
our
into
problem.
I know that, I'm just saying.
Operations.
You want to come back and have them pointed at us. And the
Yeah.
third one, Ruth, was length of time
That's
can
not
be
a problem.
boarded.
Yep, so there,
Okay.
it's 3 simple questions.
Yeah.
It should not take a long discussion again.
No.
I hope not.
You sure?
Just 3 questions were unanswered, right?
Yeah, well, we want to do our due diligence, so.
I would ask that we try to get an agenda fairly quickly, that they don't have to wait another month
All right.
Mhm,
for a response, if that's possible.
mhm. Okay, Steph would work on that for sure. All right, so there is a motion on the floor to approve application 2126 as stated with the elimination of paragraph B made by Commissioner Ticky, seconded by Commissioner Lascos.
We
So,
need a motion to clarify those 3 issues as part of the motion.
Mr. Panico, do we need to include in our motion the fact that we want to have further information from the applicant?
No, you're,
No, because
Okay.
it's the
No,
zone.
the
no,
resolution-
your action is, you're just taking a zoning action.
Okay,
You're amending the zoning of PDD number 2. That's all
right,
you're
PUD
doing.
number 2, by adding section 4 to section 4 permitted uses, line 12, which would
And
read.
it's going to say dog care service facilities are limited to indoor daycare. I'm sorry, dog day service facilities limited to indoor daycare, grooming, training, and overnight boarding. No dog activities are allowed other than curbside drop-off and pickup. Such facilities are limited to the Shelton Place portion of the PDD number 2, and each such facility will be subject to Planning and Zoning Commission approval. That's it. You're not taking the approval of the facility. You're simply putting that zoning change in.
Okay.
And that amendment will become effective on Friday, something or other. I don't know if Alex can give me a number, but, and the reasons for it. That's it.
April 18th, March 18th, March 18th. Okay. Yeah, so in 10 days. And that gap is for everybody's, and make sure everybody's aware. It's because of the notice that has to go out. So, all right, so on that motion, I'll do a roll call vote.
Did somebody move it?
Yeah, it was Commissioner Tiki, seconded by Commissioner Laskos.
Okay.
Okay. So I will do roll call vote, and I'm going to start off for once. And my vote is nay. Okay, Commissioner Harkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is passed by a vote of 5-1.
Perhaps we could put the business on the 29th with the public hearing for the moratorium, since that's going to be pretty quick, I would think. Anybody think that that's a good idea?
Well, staff,
I know it's an extra meeting,
why don't
but
you look into it and then
we're already
see
on.
how that works?
Can Alice give me the effective date so I can put it into final resolution?
March 18th.
March 18,
Hmm?
that's a Friday?
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll make that correction to the resolution and Alex will have it tomorrow.
all right.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I like that. All right, so we're on to application 2201 Scheibel Realty LLC at 475 501 Howe Avenue, Assessors Map 129D, lots 32 and 33 for a special exception in the CA3 zone for 6 apartments with on-site parking. Let's see. Public hearing for this will opened and closed on February 23rd, 2022. At the public hearing, the applicant explained the proposed renovations to the building. Staff indicated the fire marshal did not submit a written report, as this is an existing building and there were no issues with the proposal. The applicant indicated that escape windows meeting the approval of the fire marshal would be installed. Mr. Panico indicated, I believe it was Mr. Panico, that indicated that component could be made a condition of approval. There were no comments from members of the public. So the floor is open for the members of the commission to discuss this application.
Madam Chair.
Yep. Okay. Everybody hear that?
Yep.
Mr. Panico, did you hear what Mr. Rossetti said?
Not quite. I was just looking at something else in the folder.
Was that an
It's on the
email?
screen.
Is that what I'm looking at in front of me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Fire marshal's office is reviewed and approved. Okay.
okay. All right, so what's the feeling of the commission on this
What's
particular
their parking
proposal?
ratio again? They have how
Parking
many
ratio.
units and how many parking places?
Let's see.
Well, you had enough,
20 some
you
odd,
had
yeah.
enough for
Like
like
two
calling it
each,
2
right?
per apartment,
Yeah.
but
He has,
it's only
uh,
1 per apartment.
He
But
has
that,
26?
26.
yeah, there's a lot of
26.
spots.
25.
Yeah.
25.
6 tenant spaces out of the 26.
I was
would
doing
be-
other things, saying if you did 2, if you
Yeah.
called it 2 per apartment, there's
But
still
it's-
plenty for the businesses and there's,
Mhm.
Yeah, well, it's
so we don't
only,
usually have,
well, our ratio is 1, isn't it?
we're not,
Yeah.
we don't usually have somebody who actually has an
That
abundance of
amount.
Oh, yeah.
That is true.
parking.
Yeah, there's 26 lined, including handicap. And he said 6 tenant spaces would be marked for the
And
tenant
then-
use.
Visitor.
And the rest would be for visitor parking.
20 or 26, I got 25.
Right there.
You might be.
Well, there's
maybe
lots.
25 plus.
Yeah.
I think the only thing odd that we talked about was that apartment on the
Second
ground
floor.
level,
Two of them.
Back,
but it's in
Right,
the
there's
back.
back.
It's
Two of
not
them.
the main
it's not,
drag.
it's not really, it's ground level on the front, but it's in the back. of the
Right.
It's just on the
Mhm.
second floor. It's like a
So-
mezzanine area.
I thought it
Truthfully,
was,
yes.
it was it wouldn't be starting a precedent of downstairs
Storefront.
apartments.
No. it
No,
wouldn't be a
because in the
storefront.
front, you have
No.
a storefront.
Yeah, so we're
Right.
not giving up.
You're not
Commercial.
giving that,
No,
no,
you're
right,
not.
exactly.
Yeah, so
It's two rear ones
Yeah.
in the back.
Yeah. so
Yeah. And the access to that was
On the
on the
parking
first,
lot. I think.
Access
Yeah,
to
from
that
the
is in the
parking lot.
back.
yes,
In the back.
So that was the only thing that was having
concerned.
to talk about.
Mhm.
in my view.
Yeah, so Commissioner Kelly, you have any comments?
No, no.
Commissioner Dickey,
No, they didn't mention.
Commissioner Lascos,
we're good.
Commissioner Parkins, okay. All right, so if there isn't anything here, has staff prepared a resolution on this? You have, okay, is it on the,
So we will-
Email how out of here.
Is that just now?
where's the resolution? Is it,
Not a resolution.
oh, it's just a motion?
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
All right, because this is a special exception.
Yeah.
All right, so,
Just an motion.
yep, is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion to approve application 2201?
I'll motion for approval.
Okay,
I'll
there's
second that.
motion to approve from Commissioner Dickey, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. And so on the motion to approve application 2201, from Commissioner Dickey, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey,
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion has been approved by a vote of 6-0. Next item on the agenda is the public portion. Mr. Rossetti, is there anyone from the public who has indicated that they wish to speak? And I see no one in the auditorium. I'm sorry? Well, he's remotely, but I'm not sure. Oh, yes.
This is
Hey,
Thomas
Sophia.
Harbison. I see you recognized me to join the meeting. Would you like me to speak on the public portion now, Alex?
Go right ahead.
Good evening, Tom Harbison, 15 Soundcrest Drive, Shelton, Connecticut. Chairman Harger stated at the beginning of tonight's March 8th meeting that, quote, "An 824 referral is to be decided upon before any action can be taken by the city," end quote. I want to read an excerpt from 4 months ago during the Board of Aldermen's minutes of 2021, December 7th, as posted on the city's website. Fran Teodosio, an appropriate motion would be move that the mayor of the city of Shelton be authorized to negotiate and sign a final real estate purchase agreement with the Wells Holding LLC to purchase approximately 25 to 26 acres on Old Mill Road. Alderman Anglus so moved, seconded by Alderman McPherson, a voice vote taken, and the motion passed unanimously. Alderman Anglus said, "I just want to make a point in discussion that council in a recommended motion authorizes the mayor to negotiate, to finalize, so to speak, negotiations and purchase. He will come back to us with the final resolution." Mayor Loretti stating, "I have to because I have no money to pay for it." A voice vote was taken and the motion passed unanimously 7-0. Further, from the 2022 February 22nd minutes, just about 2 weeks ago, quote, "Alderman Anglus moved to authorize the purchase of a 25-acre parcel off Old Mill Road as further detailed in a February 2022 real estate agreement with Wells Holding LLC for a total sum of $1,290,000 with funds for the initial payment of $322,500 to come from aldermanic bonding pursuant to section 7.16 of the city charter. Further authorize Mayor Mark Loretti and Corporation Council to sign any and all documents to effectuate the purchase," end quote. So I am frustrated that no revelation nor mention was made tonight for your discussion and deliberation that the Board of Aldermen had already authorized the mayor to negotiate for the purchase of the 25-acre parcel on Old Mill Road in December of 2021. Even though it was revealed publicly in the Shelton Herald on December 10th that the mayor was looking to purchase the property and for a reported price of $1.3 million in violation of executive session purposes to protect the city's negotiating perspective in a land acquisition. Additionally, there was no mention in the presentation tonight that the Board of Aldermen at their February 22nd meeting just 2 weeks ago approved the purchase of the parcel with funding to come from bonding. And further, there was no mention at that Board of Aldermen approval on February 22nd of why the city was spending $1 million plus of taxpayers' money for a 25-acre parcel. The 824 referral request from the Board of Aldermen to the Planning and Zoning should be made and input gathered for a decision from a planning perspective, with that referral returned back to the Board of Aldermen prior to the Board of Aldermen taking an action to pursue or execute an acquisition. In that normal and legally defined process in state statute, where the 824 referral comes from in the Connecticut General Statutes, if the Planning and Zoning were to vote unfavorably, then the Board of Aldermen can override that referral with a 2/3 majority and proceed. I get it that the way this was inappropriately administrated may in the end seem moot because you would arrive at the same result anyway. But it should be stated publicly that the Board of Aldermen and Mayor have skipped the Planning and Zoning Commission and operated in violation of state statute for processing this transaction. This kind of behind your back action is very irritating to me, particularly when the mayor sold dedicated open space in Huntington Woods without not only the Planning and Zoning approval, but even the Board of Aldermen approval. Both of those approvals were sought after the fact of the sale and deed being filed in the land records, and no reference in the spirit of transparency was made by the administration when subsequently requesting approvals that they had already taken action and sold property on the city's land records. Comments by Commissioner Kelly tonight that, quote, not a lot of people realize that there are still a lot of farms in Shelton, end quote, is appropriate. The Bear Plains Farms is one of 3 Christmas tree farms operating in Shelton, an astonishing achievement in our growing city that should be applauded and supported. But somehow, the reasoning for this purchase of the 25-acre farmland was tonight being convoluted as similar to the land banking of the Moss property and helping the city avoid an affordable housing application. If that's the goal, then should the city buy every remaining open undeveloped parcel in Shelton to ensure that it has control of its destiny? Isn't zoning on its own purpose for managing the destiny of Shelton in a planning sense? To fill you in transparently, since no referral request came to the Conservation Commission, no, the 25-acre property does not abut the Clappick farmland parcels, but there is some property on Controls Drive that links the Clappick parcel to this Wells parcel, containing substantial wetlands and a pond. I used to ice skate there as a kid. This allows for wildlife migration and similar open space values, even though not protected for such purposes, to help create the greenway corridors that are outlined as a goal in our open space plan, a supporting document for the city's adopted plan of conservation and development. So my question to you as commissioners to consider and perhaps even ask in future presentations, how does this request to buy or sell property for the municipality serve our plan of conservation and development? It should not be to take property in or out of the potential for development without justification by a mayor who is in the business of developing land himself. Similarly, the Shelton Herald reported on January 14th that the city was selling an area of land within the Moss property to Bigelow Tea, but this sale as well as purchase of lands in the area was agreed to before the Planning and Zoning gave their 824 referral tonight, approving such a direction from a planning perspective. Your 824 referrals are moot as it already occurred. During the 2022 February 22nd Board of Aldermen meeting, Alderman Inglis moved to authorize the purchase of 56 Black Hills Road for a sum of $590,000 with funding to come from the American Rescue Plan funds, line item XYZ, further authorizing the Mayor Loretti and Corporation Council to sign any and all documents to effectuate the purchase. So I ask, what is your purpose regarding 824 referrals in Shelton when the administration and Board of Aldermen just does what they want without your involvement for referral as legally required? In tonight's presentation, it was stated that our population hasn't, quote, gone through the roof, end quote, nor reached its, quote, build out, end quote. But I will say that the character of our population's residential housing has changed from an R1 nature with a backyard to relax and enjoy to apartments where the residents then reach out to our parks and open spaces and trails to enjoy as passive recreation. I know COVID impacted that with people working from home, but our trails were used tremendously over these recent years. There is no set aside of open space or payment of fee in lieu of for a separate property acquisition for open space occurring when the PDD mechanism is bastardized to be used for residential development. I referenced this during a recent PDD flats presentation off of Constitution Boulevard, and the applicant's attorney referred to the concept of impact fees, something that might be considered in the future, particularly with downtown development in that downtown area, as well as PDDs in other areas of town. I encourage you to think not only as to the long-term impacts of development beyond traffic or sewerage, but more broadly and upon the other resources city has provided residents, such as open space or recreational opportunities, particularly when many of our active recreation facilities are cohabitated on education campuses. And these developments the city has stated they seek are geared toward the active adult community or more senior population, who not only would impact the school population minimally, but they seek to utilize the recreational offerings that we have during the weekdays when schools are in session. So if residential build out is going to occur and continue in a manner where there is no set aside or preparation made for their eventual recreational needs, perhaps an impact fee and the concept as raised by Attorney Thomas in a recent meeting should be contemplated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harbinson. Mr. Rossetti, anybody else from the public have indicated that they'd like to address the commission on any items not on the agenda? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to other business, the remaining portion of other business. First comments from the chair. SCDC's monthly meeting was held today. Status report of the star pin remediation and funding sources for the proposal to restore the canal blocks were made. Anything else, Commissioner Parkins, that you might
No, I think
add?
that's good.
Okay. The other comment from the chair is that I'm appointing Vice Chair Kelly, Commissioner Laskos, and alternate Commissioner Onofrio to a special subcommittee to investigate and report back to the commission, hopefully in about a month's time, on the topic of fuel cells and whether or not any of our zoning regulations would need to be modified as a result. This special subcommittee is being formed after I was asked by alternate Commissioner Onofrio how fuel cells are currently handled by our zoning regulations, and they are not. So I encourage the fuel cell subcommittee to utilize Mr. Rossetti and Mr. Panico in their discussions and investigation. And if you can come back to the commission in about a month's time. Sure, it's Vice Chair Kelly, Commissioner Laskos, and alternate Commissioner Onofrio. And I think in your discussions, alternate Commissioner Onofrio will share, he has experience with fuel cells in his current capacity.
Bridgeport just put one in.
Yeah.
Or it's proposing one.
Right, so,
Where
Down on, off of Iranistan Avenue, I believe, somewhere in that area.
mhm.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, there's quite a few that we have already. Cherry Street Loft off 95, we've seen the redevelopment there. That whole facility is powered by fuel cells. We're putting in another one, as you mentioned, Commissioner Parkins, right underneath 95 there on Iranistan, and we've got another proposal in over on the east side of Bridgeport as well. So just was curious to see how with all this development, especially with the manufacturers coming in, how fuel cells may or may not impact our current zoning.
Mr. Onofrio, could you, or Commissioner Onofrio, could you just remind everyone your position currently?
Yeah, sure. So I run the Bridgeport Regional Business Council. We operate the 3 chambers of Bridgeport, Stratford, and Trumbull Chambers of Commerce. But we also operate the Bridgeport Economic Development Corporation. We're kind of the arms and legs of the Office of Planning and Economic Development for the city of Bridgeport. When they don't have capacity, they kind of offload work to us.
So that is why.
So we do have regulations on solar for
Yes.
residential and commercial. We also have regulations for wind tap for turbines,
Mhm.
right? Height restrictions and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's.
Yeah, and in the past, we've had people have had to come before us because of the generators. And of course, we automatically, the cell towers. So,
Cell towers is through
the siding council,
Siding
yeah.
council, yeah.
yeah. but-
I believe, isn't fuel cells also through the siting council?
Commissioner Onofrio, are you aware of that?
Or is the siting, Connecticut Siting Council involved in the siting of those?
Yeah, typically. Yep.
Okay, and if anybody wants to submit any information to the subcommittee, you're more than welcome to do so based on your personal or business professional experience. All right, Mr. Kelly, Commissioner Kelly, do you have any comments from the downtown subcommittee?
No, I did speak to Mr. Napier last night. He's going to try to get a date for another meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
He
they're
wasn't
due.
quite sure when, but
Okay. Commissioner Amato, any other comments from the subcommittee
No. we're
for
just
zoning?
Handling the signs as we spoke, as mentioned, and we'll be meeting, what, 23rd, right? Or
Yep.
23rd, yeah.
Okay. And staff comments, Mr. Rossetti, have any comments in general? No, okay. Mr. Nappy, do you have any comments regarding downtown development projects?
Only that they did start construction on the old donut, what's referred to as the donut shop parcel.
Okay. Mr. Pettis's project and Mr. Stanziel is the
General contract.
construction manager. Yeah, the construction manager. Okay. All right. And Mr. Panico, do you have any comments?
No, I have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda notes that the February 23rd, 2022 minutes are available for review on the city's website, and they'll be on the agenda of an upcoming meeting for approval. Last item on the agenda is approval of the February 16th, 2022 meeting. Unless there's an objection, Chair would like to table approval of these minutes until our next meeting. However, if you would rather that we go forward, I would be abstaining from,
Didn't these get tabled last time?
no, the 8th. February
But
8th
we did
was,
approve those?
no, that
So
was,
those were tabled and these.
yes, yeah.
I would
So,
have to abstain as well, because I'm sorry, I just didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Okay, so it might be in best interest that we just, and then my suggestion would be if staff could put the approval of the minutes at the beginning, towards the beginning of the agenda at upcoming meeting. Okay, so seeing that there's no other item on the agenda, the chair declares this evening's meeting is adjourned as of 8:25 p.m.
Good job.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
So was anybody else able to open the document that Alex sent?
No.
And you have an iPhone? You have an iPhone?
I don't have an Android, but I could open it.
I couldn't
Elaine,